In most major cities around the world, affordable housing is very hard to find. This is particularly true in New York City, where rental prices are super high and are increasing faster than incomes. This housing problem in New York City is compounded by the fact that about 70% of New Yorkers are renters rather than owners, a fraction that is twice as high as the national average. To combat this problem, New York City has implemented rent stabilization policies to restrict the rate at which the rent can be increased. Currently, about half of the rental units in New York City are rent stabilized. However, tenants living in these rent stabilized units are particularly vulnerable to harassment by the landlords, because landlords often want to force them out so that they can convert these apartments to market rate ones. There are many stories of such tenants. Mr. Sidibe is just one of them. Not only did his landlord refuse to fix the hot water tap in his bathtub, his landlord also evicted him on false grounds while he was in the hospital recovering from severe burn he got from the broken tap. By the time Mr. Sidibe sought legal help, it was already too late because he had lost his home. To help more tenants like Mr. Sidibe before it becomes too late, in 2015, New York City's mayor's office set up the Tenant Support Unit to proactively outreach the tenants. TSU specialists go to buildings across the city and talk to tenants about the housing problems they might have. They can then connect the tenants to city services such as legal aid if the tenant reports a problem. However, TSU has a daunting task. There are 750,000 residential buildings in the city, amounting to about 3 million rental units. But TSU only has 26 specialists, who together can only knock on 5,000 doors per month. This is to say, TSU is severely limited in the number of tenants they can reach. So they must make very smart decisions about which doors to knock on first. Knocking randomly is one option. It could be reasonable if we expect that all tenants are equally likely to experience harassment. However, we've seen that this is not the case. Here are two buildings in our historical data, one in the Bronx and one in Queens. They look pretty similar from the outside, and they both contain rent-stabilized units. However, in the former one, TSU specialists knocked on 75 doors and found 21 apartments where tenants report an issue. While in the latter one, TSU specialists knock on 500 doors only to find no issues reported. Clearly, random knocking would not be ideal. The specialists were therefore wondering how they should decide which doors to knock on first. Our goal in this summer was thus to help them identify more buildings like Building A at a high risk of tenant harassment, so that we can help them better target their outreach to tenants most in need of their services. To do so, we gather data from a variety of sources, including demographic data from the American Community Survey, housing violations data from the HPD, and housing court litigation data. We used all these data to build a machine learning model that predicts the risk of tenant harassment for a given building. With the predict risk scores, we can help TSU better plan their outreach. Instead of starting from the map on the left, they are now able to prioritize the high-risk buildings. In addition, since high-risk buildings can be spread out across the city, and since we know that TSU specialists only have very limited time, we further identify clusters of high-risk buildings. The TSU specialists can focus on clusters of high-risk buildings and not waste their time traveling between distant buildings. Our model measurably increased the number of New Yorkers TSU would be able to reach. Currently, TSU is able to knock on 60,000 doors per year and help 1,800 households on average. Our model can help them to reach over 3,000 households while knocking on the same number of doors. And the more tenants they reach, the more tenants they can help to protect against landlords who are trying to violate tenants' rights. Thank you.